Hello, everyone. Welcome to our mentorship session on engineers. This is a CareersNOW program brought to you by Food and Beverage Ontario, and we are delivering mentorship sessions, job fairs, as well as offering free essential training, job-ready training through our program. So at some point, please create your profile at jobseeker.careersnow.ca to access all of that and check out the events we have coming up. I'm your host, Nicole Galacci, and we're here with three awesome speakers today. All have different roles in the food industry, but have an engineering background. And I will pass it over to Shwana, who will introduce herself and her own story in terms of how she became working in the food and beverage industry. Thanks, Shwana.
Thank you, Nicole, and thank you for having me here. So hi, everyone. My name is Swarna Ariyakumar, and I am a senior packaging engineer at Mars Canada. So just to give you kind of a glimpse of my career journey, I graduated from U of T from chemical engineering, and I was always fascinated about kind of the manufacturing industry, understanding how things were made, produced. But after graduation, I really didn't know which direction I wanted to go. And for me, I graduated right when recession hit. So it was very difficult finding a job. And so I took on the first opportunity that I got, and that was as a quality technician at Mars Pet Care. So I was in the plant and collecting samples, testing. And I think one thing that I really realized after I got into the food industry was, as an engineer, how many you can go into product development, packaging development. And I think two things that really helped me grow, especially in the first couple years of starting my career, was really connecting with kind of the associates out in the plant, really understanding how the process worked, but also taking on some extra projects. It was a way for me to really understand the different areas within production, whether it's product development, process optimization, but also an opportunity for me to really showcase my skills as well and build on my experience. So those two things I found really helped me grow in the beginning. And what really got me into packaging was I would see associates running line trials, and I was very curious about the packaging, how they came up with package designs, how they came about running line trials. And it was never something I knew about or really understood. So I expressed my interest to my manager at that time. And he said, reach out to the packaging development manager, set up a one-on-one, and express your interest and see if there's opportunities to job shadow. And initially, I was very hesitant. I didn't know what to expect. I was really shy about kind of setting up that initial connect, but honestly, that was the best thing I did. It really opened up that opportunity to get my foot in the door into packaging development. Because of that, like when that opportunity for a packaging technologist came forward, they reached out, asked if I was interested. I applied, and I became the packaging technologist at that time. And this was kind of my first step into packaging development. And I've been in packaging development for 10 years now. I started off as a technologist, really focusing in pet care. And with Mars, I think one opportunity is that it's not just within one segment. It's not just pet care that we work with. We work with foods as well as Mars Wrigley. So there is really opportunity for us to expand. And I don't think a lot of people are aware of that. Lots of different segments, different brands, different products that you're working with. So a lot of opportunities to really learn and grow. And so I started off as a technologist, and then as a packaging scientist, and now a senior packaging engineer. And so really, for me, what I really love about packaging is that opportunity to really the technical piece, but also the creative piece. It's not, I get to be on the floor, run line trials, connect with associates in the plant, but also work with so many different functions. You're working with finance, you're working with finance on cost optimization opportunities, you're working with supply chain on creating efficiencies, you're working with quality, you're working with customer marketing and sales, understanding the retail landscape, what consumers are looking for, consumer research. So every day is so different. You're not working on the same thing every day. You're learning something new every day. So that's really what I love about packaging, and why I've been in packaging development for 10 years now, and really love it. Lots of opportunities to grow within R&D. It's not just in packaging, there's product development as well, and quality. So lots of opportunities in R&D as an engineer to really grow. And if there was kind of two key takeaways, I would say, that I think are really important as you think about your career development, I would say is relationship building. Build that network. It's so important. It's those relationships. You'll be able to meet a great mentor. I know personally that's how a mentor was really instrumental in helping me grow within packaging development. So I would say that's really important as you're thinking about your career advancements. But also remember that you own your development. I think that's one thing that I really embrace, is that you really own your development. Don't wait for somebody to come out and help you find that opportunity. If you're interested, ask that question, seek opportunities, and ask those questions. Be curious.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I have a bunch of questions, but I'm going to wait till the end to ask all three of you. And I should add, now that a few more people have joined, if you have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, and then I'll ask our speakers at the end. So thank you. We'll talk to you again in a minute. And we're going to go to Carson next.
Hey, so yeah, my name is Carson Walsh. I graduated from the University of Guelph with a degree in biological engineering. Really love the first career talk there, because I think a lot of the similar themes I'm going to touch on, especially that the food industry has a lot of interconnectedness. So the connections you make at one place, you'll end up seeing them 10 years down the line. But yeah, so my career path, I started off at the University of Guelph in the co-op program. And I really loved the co-op program there, because I got to experience a number of different places to kind of see what I enjoyed and what I didn't. I started off working for an agriculture company, Pioneer, doing canola research, which was super interesting. The agricultural side of food is a super important part of our supply chain, but it didn't interest me as much as my next two co-ops, which were in more food manufacturing. So my second co-op was at Kraft Foods making cheese. And then my final one was with Mondelez making Oreos in the R&D department. So those two co-ops is where I really found continuous improvement and that side of engineering application. And that's what I enjoyed the most. And that's how I transitioned from the R&D co-op position to a position as a process engineer with Mondelez in their Cadbury chocolate division. So in terms of what a process engineer is doing kind of day in, day out, you're trying to look at losses. So no system runs perfectly, no matter how well the packaging is designed. There might be stops at your packaging machine. There might be quality defects. There might be, any sort of reason why your machine might not be running at 100% efficiency. So the goal of the process engineer, in my experience, has been to try and find out what's causing those losses so that you can put together projects or different procedures to hopefully make them go away. Now that sounds very, very simple when you put it in one sentence like that, but the paths you can take to try and get those losses eliminated can get very complex. Sometimes you might need a capital project because the design of the machine needs some sort of improvement. Sometimes it is a new set of parts. Sometimes it's just changing the way that the operations team is modifying it. But there's so many continuous improvement tools and so many different ways that you can kind of grow and learn in the continuous improvement world. That's what I've really enjoyed about the process engineer position. Now, I've had a couple positions since. For the past 2 years, I was working in quality compliance, which seemed like an interesting shift from engineering. I had no formal training in quality, no background in kind of laws and regulations. But to the points earlier, the food world is so transferable. So all the things that I had learned in operations prepared me really, really well for quality, because I knew the processes, I knew the people, and having that, it made learning just the laws and regulations and how to apply them super simple. And it's actually kind of funny, the second point about the connections and networks. So just today was my second day actually with Mars Pet Care. So I've joined in the operations department. So just had my second day now at Mars Pet Care. So it looks like I have a colleague on the call. So I appreciate that.
I didn't even put that together.
That's really funny. So what originally drew me to food, like way before I was even in university, was I had a friend who had a parent that worked in food, and anytime I went, they always had a freezer full of ribs or chicken or anything we wanted. So they, what are you hungry for? Crack open the freezer and they have it available. But since then, it's the ownership in the products that you're making. So it feels really great to be able to take ownership and see your products on the shelf, startup product that you helped design or a product that you helped improve the quality of, just something that you're seeing day to day with your hands, and then someone else is going out and buying and eating is really a source of pride for me. But yeah, I think that sums up my experience as a whole. I think the two biggest takeaways for me is whatever experiences you're learning, they'll all transfer really, really well, even if it doesn't seem super obvious at the time. You can move from operations to quality, back to operations, R&D, like they're all very transferable skills you'll pick up. And the second one is the relationships you build, because it's kind of the same people no matter where you go, and someone you worked with 1, 2, 3 years ago, you might end up seeing later down the line. So thanks.
That's definitely true. Never burn bridges. You just never know when you're going to be at a function and across the table from someone that you used to work with, or at an event. So I can totally agree with that. Let's go to Purush next. Thank you for sharing your story.
Hello, everyone. My name is Purushothaman Elumalai. Definitely, it's a pleasure to be here to share my experience with the young grads. This is my first time I'm doing this. I'm planning to do this continuously. And thank you so much for creating this opportunity, Nicole. And thank you so much. Right. I'm working as a process engineer with Give and Go Prepared Foods. This is my 4th year with the company. So to give a short summary about the company, we make we are one of the top leaders in snack manufacturing. We make brownies, cupcakes, and we have actually 300 SKUs. And I go between a lot of sites, so that gave me a lot of experience working with different products. On my education background, I finished my undergrad, which is Bachelor's in Chemical Engineering from back home, India. Then I was working there for 2 years in India. I worked in an engineering consultant company where I was designing plants, but I was actually learning to design water treatment plants. So I spent my initial 1.5 years to understand the water treatment plant and how to design them. And I also got some experience in commissioning. And then I spent the next 6 months with the oil manufacturer to give them a technical service side, to help them out in the technical service. To come to Canada to do my master's. So 2016-17, I graduated from University of Ottawa. I got my master degree in chemical engineering, and then I started after that there's a real headache, right? You need to get a job. So because I'm addressing the young graduates here, I just wanted to tell them, be patient and keep applying, and stick to the industry. That is, friends, don't change your industry. Just be open to the position that if it's related to the engineering, all the operation positions are okay. Just go join the company, start with the junior role, spend some time on the floor. So that's what I keep telling my friends too, who graduated. So after my graduation, it was 1 year, was really tough. I was trying to get a job. I was focusing most on engineering jobs. I apply all the jobs with engineering title, and it didn't work out well. So I had to step back and think about what I should be doing different, right? So I started applying to all the positions, and I ended up as a process area lead with Give and Go. That's my first job in Canada. So in this job, I basically, look after the production, help the machine operators and supervisors with any task. And I started my work in the afternoon shift. It's more like a manual plan where I joined. So it gave me an opportunity to learn the machines. Some point I have to run the machines when the operators are not there. So it was actually fun and interesting. And I told myself, this is going to be your intern after graduation, right? You're going to learn a lot. So I was taking notes on the site, like, okay, these are the areas to improve, because I already worked with the oil and gas in the food oil manufacturer. So I know these steps can be improved and these steps can be improved. I was just taking those notes, and one day I got a chance to share those experience with the plant manager. And I didn't expect, he loved it. He was like, oh, that's great, Purush. Can you put them in the slide and show it to me one day, right? So he gave me time, and that was my first presentation too. So I was like excited, and I showed him all these things that you can improve. And he said, that's good. Do you want a team or something, right? So after 2 months, I got a call from him, like, I need some help on the continuous improvement side. 5S the plant and all these ideas that I told him before, and I got an opportunity to work. And then that really opened up my mind. I learned a lot, and that's how I ended up in the process engineering role with the same company. To be honest, I would say the decision that I made to take the process area lead helped me to grow to this position where I am at, because I didn't stick to I didn't stick to the mindset of, okay, engineering, I should get an engineering job. No. So it is just about learning how do you apply yourself to the industry. And there's a lot of opportunities in food manufacturing, especially in operations side, like Carson mentioned. This quality, you can transfer your knowledge to different industries: maintenance coordination, project engineering. So day to day in my job, I deal with a lot of these continuous improvement initiative that has been created by the plant manager. For example, line 1 is having 10% waste, right? So that waste can be from any part, from the cutting for baking or decoration. So there's a lot of areas I need to go and check and collect data and improve it. So that kind of expanded my knowledge how to approach these problems. And in an industry, process engineering is important, where you get a chance to connect with multiple departments, where the projects are generated. You go understand the process. You try to make it more lean, reduce waste, for example, reduce the giveaway, for example. So those are the things I do in a day-to-day, in my job. And this last 4 years with the company, I would say I learned a lot. I definitely got a lot of opportunity to grow. And this what I would say to the young graduate is keep applying, and don't lose hope, and master Excel. So Excel is something which is, I know this people graduate with Excel and they have this Excel in their curriculum. I know that, but in industry, what I'm seeing, that is something they need to master it. Because if you're applying as a young graduate, learn Excel, learn how to handle it, compare the data, learn some of the lean techniques. What are the graph that you need to know as a basic level, right, to start with. that will help you to understand the problem, to solve the problem. Those are the tools you need as an young graduate when you address these problems in the industries. So definitely, I would say, spend some time, learn Excel, and try to jump into any technical roles, as a fresher out of the industry, out of the college. Try to jump into any technical roles. Try to, spend some time on the floor, right? Because there's an interesting story, right? I was given a project, and I was trying to solve it with my team. I was trying to collect data, and this person, who's a machine operator, he spent 15 years with the equipment, same equipment. So he was looking at me, and 2 days, 3 days passed, and he told me, Purush, I know what you're trying to solve, and this is exactly you need to do. I was like, okay. I was like hesitant, right, to take this opinion, but I still tried, but it worked, right? So that is something you learn from the flow, because those people are actually running your equipment. They know a lot. That's their baby, right? So they have spent more time than the process engineer. So spending time in the floor is important. As a young engineer, while joining the company, understand the process. Talk to the operator. Communication is the key. You need to maintain a good relationship with the operators, with all the supervisors, and the management leaders. So communication is the key, and don't hesitate to share your opinions, because that is something I learned in a hard way. Don't hesitate to share your opinions, and no idea is bad idea until you try. You have to give a try. There's a trial and error. You need to try it out to find out if this is a good idea, bad idea. Don't hesitate. And this industry is huge. This cannot stop, and it won't stop. Even in COVID, we saw it. We were classified as essential workers, and this industry cannot stop. And in North America, I feel there's a lot of opportunities, and there's a lot of requirements. And for young graduates out there, food industry is never going to stop, and there's a lot of opportunities you can explore and you learn. Definitely, you should consider applying to the roles in food industries. And about applying, and LinkedIn is the best bet now. I used Indeed before, but now I see LinkedIn is opened up really wide, and they've updated their the way of applying jobs. So I think keep connecting to people. Networking is the key. Keep your profile active. Put even if you don't have experience with the industry, try to create a good profile. Refer to people who has already doing good in the industry. See how they have created their profile, and keep your profile interesting. That's something I would say to the young students out there. And be open to all the entry-level jobs, and keep learning.
That's awesome advice. We can open it up to questions. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to add them to the chat. I've got a bunch. As each of you are speaking, I'm thinking of different questions. So as you're speaking, but I do have some that I had already thought of, which is, I guess the first one, did anyone come and talk to you about careers in the food and beverage industry when you were at school? Because this is one of the things that I had noticed when I first started food grads, and when I was going out to different schools. I went out to Mac, I think it was, and I think it was about 200 engineering students, and maybe 2 had even thought about the food and beverage industry as somewhere that they might have an opportunity to work and advance in their career. So, Carson, you want to go ahead with that one, or yeah?
Yeah, sure. So I actually got very lucky when I was finishing high school and kind of looking at my options for school. The recruiting person for Guelph Engineering said, "Go into food. Go into food.
Yeah, there you go.
You're going to get a job. There's amazing career opportunities. If you're not sure, how about food?" And I was like, sure, whatever. And just kind of tailored my university experience to that, and I'd say it worked out great.
Yeah. Well, and to Purush's point, it's recession proof. It's pandemic proof. If anything, from what I hear, the feedback when other industries were suffering, certainly on the food service side as well, but other industries were suffering, companies couldn't keep food on the shelf, especially comfort food. What was your experience through COVID?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, take that one.
Go ahead, Carson.
I was just going to say to Nicole's point that something you see is when companies, especially food companies, have to kind of tighten up the belts for difficult times. Like the last place to feel that pinch is operations, because that's where like the plant is where the product is made. That's where the value is added. So marketing and sales and stuff like that might struggle, but in recession times, like operations is pretty resilient.
Yeah. Purush, go ahead.
Yeah, like during the operation, like to Carson's point, we didn't have crew to run the plant, but still we kept the operations up. And to the industry, like I mentioned, it won't stop. Like we saw it before, and getting people to work was a difficult part. Even now, I know industries are struggling to get the talent inside the facility. So to answer your questions, during it is the industry won't stop, and they need a lot of young talent to support them, and there's a lot to learn and grow.
Swana, do you have anything to add there?
Yeah, I would echo everything that Carson and Bashir was saying. It's like it doesn't stop. The production, I think it's definitely the labor shortage that we're seeing a lot and hearing a lot of, but there's that opportunities there. We're actually looking for more associates and grads to join companies to support with production.
And it's true. I mean, you mentioned you were just starting out during the recession. I think you said 2008. I was a recruiter back then, and I've always worked in the food industry, and other sectors were suffering, but the food industry was still hiring. I guess to Carson's point about different areas. So the luxury items maybe weren't selling, but all the value items were, because people were watching the pennies a little bit more. But yeah, I think it's interesting that people think of food service, they think of restaurants, and they think of the food industry, but they don't look at the food manufacturing industry as a place to work. And I think it's like number one employer now in manufacturing. 120 are employed in this sector, yet it's not top of mind, which is mind-boggling to me. So and all the senior people that I tend to work with, through the lens of as a recruiter, most have an engineering background, in the operations, I should say. So, whether it's supply chain, whether it's the plant operations, it's typically when I would get an order for a search, it would be, I need someone with an engineering background, the education. So, I think you're pretty insulated once you're in. You don't need. I guess that's my next question. Would you ever look outside the food industry? Anyone, feel free to jump in. Are you in now for good?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, right? Because I've spent like 2 years in the water treatment, and then 4 years in food, and a short term in oil and gas. So definitely after the pandemic, before pandemic, I would have had a different answer. But now it's not that I won't go, but there's a lot, right? And the industry is strong, and even in food industry, there's a lot of. Now I belong to a snack manufacturer. There's meat, there is dairy, and there is leaves. So there's a lot of areas can be explored in food. To be honest with you, I would like to stick with food industry for a while and explore the opportunities.
Swana, do you want to jump in there?
Yeah, I don't see myself leaving the food industry. I think there's so many opportunities, and I love it. Definitely wouldn't leave.
Carson?
Yeah, same answer. It would be hard to get me out.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think it's I think there's a perception issue. Anyone jump in on this? But one of the things we found through Taste Your Future back in 2017, and then now with CareersNOW, and you talk about the labor challenges. I think people think of hairnets and factories and minimum wage, and there's all these kind of perceptions and myths that float around about working in the industry. Maybe Purush, maybe you want to jump in here. What do you think the biggest misconceptions are? I mean, with robotics, with automation and innovation, technology, like, have you seen it changed over the years? And what do you think the biggest misconceptions are about the industry?
Sorry, Nicole, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that there's lots of misconceptions out there about working in the food sector, and with robotics, technology, automation? I know that everyone within the industry, different companies, different factories have different levels of that. And you guys know more about this stuff. Have you seen it change over the years that you've been in the industry in terms of automation and you know, technology affecting your job? And what would you say were the biggest misconceptions about working in the industry?
Right. Yeah, definitely. I know industries are trying to automate wherever they can, right? Because that's going to, two things, that's going to eliminate a lot of error. And few products, like I move within different sites. For example, we make cupcakes, right? The cupcakes needs robots, and the icing needs to sit on the center. Otherwise, it's a defective product. That requires more automation, right? Because if it's a manual process, there's going to be a lot of defects and waste. So it really depends on the product, what they make. And in few units, we don't even have robots. It's just the equipment stamp and we cut and roll, and there is no automation there. So it really depends on what product that company is making. For sure, there's a lot of money flowing in the automation. You know, like I said, it's going to eliminate an error. But the misconcept is you need people to solve problems, and the robots cannot do everything, right? Even, you know, working with robots, there's an interesting story. But yeah, I just don't want, so the robots can, so one machine operator was trying to fix the robot, and, you know, all of a sudden, boom, he had icing all over it. So it's not that robot is going to solve your problem. It's going to make your process easier, right? It's going to increase your productivity and reduce your defect, but you need people, you need operators to operate robots, right? So there's if the industry is shifting towards more automation, you need more people to work around the automation. That was my comment on that.
Swana, do you want to jump in? Anything to add?
Yeah, I think the automation piece, I think the misconception is that we're eliminating people and putting in equipment or new systems, but in reality, it's the automation is really to create efficiencies and really help make, whether it's the production or what you're doing, take out that non-value added work and create more efficiency, so you have time to spend on optimizing or cost reductions or whatever the area of focus you're working on. It's really not about eliminating the headcount, but creating efficiency so associates can work on more value-added work.
Yeah. Carson, what's your take on that?
Yeah, in terms of the misconception side, something I've seen is that people, especially people who are graduating with engineering degrees, are a little bit hesitant to apply to positions in food that don't say engineer in the job title, like whether it's a quality technician or, you know, something in operations, a team leader. Just with, like, especially with the automation, but with any job in a food manufacturing site, everything is technical. There is no position that doesn't end up with you becoming a technical expert if you want to do well. So if you have an engineering degree and you're worried that, oh, if I'm a team leader or I'm a quality technician, I'm not going to be able to build my skills to you know, make me a successful engineering practitioner or, you know, problem solver in the future, I would disagree with that. I think if you are taking any sort of job in food manufacturing, you're going to build those technical skills and you're going to be setting yourself up for success.
That's great advice. And that leads me on to my next question around, so you all have formal education, obviously an engineering background. What would you recommend to a new grad that perhaps isn't finding a position? Push, you mentioned Excel, become like an expert in Excel. Are there any other courses or skill development, like perhaps something that you look for when you're hiring in your own team? Swana, you want to go ahead with that one?
I think in terms of skills, it really depends on kind of what role you're applying for. And I think really focusing on your peer relationships, your soft skills I think are critical when you're applying for any position. I think technical, I think you can learn and grow within the role. So whether like I went into packaging development, not having a background in packaging, you can build on that technical piece. It's more of the the interpersonal skills, and is what you really what I believe like you need to really showcase during the initial interviews, and having those initial conversations, and when you kind of enter, you kind of really building yourself.
Yeah, I'd agree. They're tough, soft skills. Kids hear that, young people hear that all the time. Soft skills, but it is so important. Having that good communication skills, for example, especially on the line. I've talked to many that started out QA techs that have to stop a line for some reason, and they're talking to people that are maybe more senior than them, like age-wise and in terms of their career, and it's very daunting, thing to do. So I would agree with that. Carson, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, couldn't have said it any better. It's 100% soft skills, and just a small story that can kind of maybe drive that home. When I first started as a process engineer, I was very focused on the outputs, the results. So go to the line and ask the people around, hey, line stopped, what's going on? How was your waste for the past hour? What are your outputs? And what started happening was I'd go to the line and everyone would ignore me, like just wall of silence when I came to the line. But what they were, and I'm glad they did, what they were doing was teaching me to go there first and say, hello, good morning, how are you, right? You need to be able to build rapport with your team. And like at the end of the day, everyone's a person. You want to be able to kind of have that connection, right? So for me, they taught me, go to the line, first thing you do is say, hello, good morning, how are things? And once you have that little person-to-person exchange, then you can get into the meat of problem solving and stuff like that. So soft skills.
Yeah. Brush, what would you add there?
Yeah, I think Swan and Carson summed up well. It definitely soft skill, and to me, if I'm looking to hire somebody, I would see his passion. I want him to be open, right? Because all the industries have their SOP. Like any industry you go, they have their SOP, and they will train you for sure, right? That's 1 week, 2 week. Nobody's going to ask you to do your job one day. So they need to be open to learn. And that's something I really look forward. They should be passionate and they should be willing to learn, and then respect to others' jobs. So if you're going to work with the group, like food manufacturing is not sitting in your desk and looking at the computer. No, you are going to deal with a lot of people. So you need to give respect to each other's job, and then you should be able to communicate properly. So the way they understand, because like I said, that's something I learned, because I'm from a country where English was not the primary language, right? So I learned on my way. So initially it was hard for me, and later I know what to talk, like how to communicate with people who work on the floor, right? You need to be more respectful. They should feel that they are important in the job too. So that's many things that you need to cover. And communication key, respect, and then willing to learn. Those are the 3 things I definitely wanted to look into an NGRAD.
Yeah, I mean, it's usually it's sort of like a given, do you think? But people don't, think about these things. And Carson, I like your example. I remember hearing, over the years working with plant managers, and always the best ones are the folks that can walk through and they know people's names. I know they ask about, did Bobby win at the game last night, and they know about people's kids, and that it's so important to make people feel valued and seen, right? And I think one of you, I can't remember who, made the point that they're in that job day in, day out, so they know the machinery, they know how to support you and make you better in your role, and help you as well as you giving them that respect, like you mentioned, and supporting them. So I think that's fantastic advice. One of the things that when we try to inspire young people to explore careers in the food industry, I'm a big advocate for the food industry. I've been in it for years, because we all eat. I mean, I think everyone should have a vested interest in this industry. And, you know, I often say, not just because it's a career path where you're going to have a job for life, you know, because it's not going to go away. That's not going to change. But more so, you know, you hear so many times the young generation coming in, they want purpose, they want meaningful work, they don't just want a paycheck. How would you address that in your role in terms of, you know, what impact in the world or purpose does your job as an engineer have in the food industry? And I think maybe Swana, with regards to packaging, maybe you can unpack that, no pun intended, a little bit more, because I always say, you know, we're worried about what's going in the ocean, and, you know, what is not biodegradable and all that sort of thing. Do you work much with marketing to actually design that stuff? Can you kind of talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, and sustainability is such a key focus of packaging development right now. And really, I think that with our role, we have that opportunity to really influence the decisions that are made in terms of what material we're using to ensure that we're developing packages that are better for a circular economy. So it's really being able to influence those decisions and collaborate, I think, with marketing and influence them, as well as to making recommendations. Marketing may sometimes the package material may impact the quality of the print, ensuring that you influence them, and kind of understanding the benefits of the package is so important as we think about kind of the end life of the package. And I think in our role, we got to think of it from end to end, from the supplier perspective. Where are they sourcing the material from? How is the material produced? The ink coverage, is the ink that they're using meet the recyclability stream? How is our package going to be recycled, or is it going to be composted? I think taking into account, and that's where I think it's so important. It's not just marketing that we're working with commercial, we're working with finance to understand the cost implications, but also the end supply chain to understand where, from a consumer's perspective, are we labeling the packages correctly so that it's actually being used and put into the right streams and on how it was designed to. So I think there's so much that's evolving every day in the world of sustainability, and we're learning every day as we're developing new packs and really working towards meeting our commitments.
I'm guessing you have quality as well that are saying, well, we need, you know, shelf life and all that sort of thing. So you're working with every department. Like quality, as you said, shelf life is such a critical piece. Ensuring it doesn't impact the quality of our product, and it can withstand the distribution piece, and packages don't start opening up because we're looking at different material and gets to consumers without impacting that quality. It's a very complicated and stream that we have to evaluate as we're designing a pack and collaborating with so many different teams, and really understanding the technical piece is so important. It's a big job. That's what I'm hearing. Carson, what would you add there as on sort of the process engineering side of things, like waste, that kind of thing?
Yeah, for me, it's food waste. You know, you see lots and lots of numbers about how much food is wasted before it even makes it to someone's doorstep. And it's a ton of food, and you see it being in the manufacturing site. So as a process engineer, it really motivates me to try and reduce that waste, not just because, you know, those are my goals and that'll make more money, but just because, you know, we can't be putting that amount of waste in the garbage. Even if your process is running really, really efficiently, like you're making 0.5% of waste, if you're putting millions and millions of pounds out the door, that still adds up to quite a bit of stuff that's not making it through the supply chain.
Mm-hmm. Krish, do you have anything to add on that, like inspiring people that want to change the world and make an impact?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I like the packaging part. We need to make sure that, you know, it's not impacting the environment for sure, and waste, right? Because you know, it's food, right? So nobody wants to waste the food. So companies are pulling millions and million tons of everyday production, and even if it's a 0.5%, to Carsten's point, it's a lot of waste, right? So definitely waste is something no industry wants, and there's a lot in food industry. That's something which always interests me. Yeah, I think managing the waste properly will definitely impact the environment. We are throwing less. We're throwing less, so which is good. Some companies, they reuse it. They feed it to pig farms and this that, but still it's less productive. So I would say efficiency is everything. So if you're making your process more efficient, there you go. You're not making anything. You're not wasting any of your power or like food or material, nothing. So you need to be efficient. And I always say to myself, try to make your life more efficient than yesterday. Be 1% better than yesterday. So efficiency is something which always drives me.
Well, and to your point, that's the stuff that machines can't do, the problem solving, the solutions, the thinking outside the box to make things better. So it is such an important job.
Yeah.
Is there? We're getting close to the 5 o'clock mark, and I did promise I will make sure you get away on time. Is there anything you wish that you had done differently within your career? I know it's by no means over for any of you. You're all still in your prime. But anything you wish you'd done differently? And so in terms of that you wish you knew as a new grad when you're starting out.
Interesting question.
Go ahead, Purush. You go ahead first.
I'm still thinking of an answer. But
I can take it if you want. So actually, I really liked what Swarna said in terms of you own your own development. I was very lucky in that I got to work in a couple of different roles and areas, and just was kind of diversified just because that's where the need was. But no one's going to take you aside and say, hey, I really think you should learn this because it'd be good for your career. It's up to you to identify what you want to learn to grow, and then to find a way to get that done. Because even if you say, well, I want to learn about changeover improvement, if you say that, no one's necessarily going to teach you changeover improvement. You have to find out who can teach you that. You have to set up time with them to get it taught, and really own your own development.
Anyone else want to jump in there? I know I put you on the spot.
Yeah, I like to me, keeping short-term goals is really important. A long-term goal is good, but keeping a short-term goal is important. Like I said, when I joined, Give and Go as an area lead, I know after my master degree, taking an area lead in the flow position, I was thinking a lot, right? But I told myself, I'm going to learn a lot in the next couple of years, and then that is going to be my experience. That's going to raise you up. So I kept a short-term goal. Okay, you're going to go inside, learn, and then you apply, then you grow. So keeping a short-term goal is very important for young grads out there. Get your EIT done. Keep the goal towards your career. Like, what are the things you need to do in your next 5 years or at least 2 years? Keep a short-term goal, and it's more effective than the long-term goal. And you keep getting better every day, right? So that will, when you look up today, I was writing down, okay, what I was doing for the last 6 years. I was like, okay, I did a lot. So you need to have your short-term goals. That is more effective.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Swarna.
I was just going to say, I think also think about your passion. What are you passionate about? Like, what is it that excites you in what you're doing? I think in the beginning, when I was looking for my first job, it was just about, okay, I need to find a job. I need to get the experience, build my resume. But don't forget to remember and think about, what are you passionate about? What excites you? It's your career. You own your development, but you also want to wake up every morning and be happy that you're in this field and that you're excited to do what you do. So I think that's definitely something I would say kind of build on.
One of the things I know in this industry is it tends to promote from within. And one of the challenges is that a lot of the time companies will hire people at those entry-level positions. And when you've gone to university or college and you have your education, I think there's a little bit of bringing expectations realistic for new grads and the industry as well, like meeting in the middle sort of thing. And I've been doing a lot of that with that bridge conversation. You can't ask for this, at the same time you can't pay this. Like you got to meet in the middle. And one of the things that's come out from all of these mentorship sessions is, you do have to start somewhere. And I love what you've said about Carson specifically. You said you both have actually, you all have, around owning your career path, because you could be in that entry level job, but don't go in, do your best, but then have your eye on the prize. Know that in a year, in 2 years, work hard, know that you want to be somewhere else, potentially in another role or a different department. And if you're working hard, mentors find you. That's one thing that seems to come through as a theme from these sessions. No one's going to come to you, like you said, Carson. No one's going to come and knock on your door and say, how can I help you? But if employers see something in you, a real determination and desire to do well, and commitment and dedication, they tend to take you under their wing and say, I want to help you, because you're showing us the dedication and that you want to do well in the company. So I think that's one of the things that has come through from all of these conversations, but definitely what the three of you have shared today. And I don't have any other questions. I don't think any came through in the chat, which isn't surprising. I'm used to that now. But I'm really glad that you could all join. I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you have any final words, please go ahead. Any final piece of advice you might give a student or a grad. Otherwise, thank you again for joining us today. And we look forward to next week's session on sales and marketing career paths.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this
opportunity.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. With people like you in the industry that come on to these things, we can do this sort of thing and inspire the next generation. So I'm so grateful. And if anyone has any questions or is watching this afterwards and would like to connect with any of our speakers, please feel free to send me an email at nicole@foodgrads.com, and I'm sure I'll be able to bug them and get an answer for you, if that's okay. And otherwise, good night. Thanks again, and have a great evening.
You too.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care. Bye.